This is Quantum Cowboy, and welcome to the official, well, unofficial, but it might become the official training for updaters. I'm just going to take you through the basics of updating and make some notes on best practices and possible ways to increase how fast you can get through your updates. So I'm going to gear this towards backups because most people, when they start out as an updater, start out as a backup. So you probably don't have teams assigned to you. Um, so today is Sunday at I'm in Pacific time myself, so it's past noon Eastern time. The official update times is every Sunday at noon is when the updates can start being processed, and they should be done before the early morning of Monday. So as a backup, if you're a backup updater, you'll notice that there's going to be a post on usually sometime early Monday morning by the head updaters saying, hey, these teams still need to be done, and you'll probably be tagged in it as a backup, so you can then claim it. So you would go into the player updater forum. Usually it's in the general discussion thread. And you want to make sure that you post, I've got, say it was the Montreal Militia, which is actually one of the teams that I'm actually going to go through the updates for the Militia in this video, just to show you the process that I go through. So you want to make sure you tag the one you're doing so another backup doesn't start doing it, and that the main updater, if they, they were busy the night before and they come on and they're going to go and start doing it, they'll see that you're already doing it, and then they won't double up on your work, because you definitely don't want that happening. Another thing to note is during off season, updates do still get processed on player pages during the off season. It's in every announcement thread for, the sim stops. We don't keep putting updates into the sim, but we do keep putting updates on the player pages. And oftentimes there's no post saying, hey, these teams haven't been done in the off season, because it's not critical in the off season. But I sort of think that, and I always do them during the off season every week anyway. And I think that actually should probably become a sort of a standard practice, because it seems like every time right before preseason, people have these massive updates that are labyrinthian, and it takes hours to process, and there's always tons of mistakes for every preseason. If we just keep on top of it every time that there's a new update, if we just keep on the updates every week, we're not going to have any problems at the start of preseason every season. Anyway, now I'm just rambling at this point. Let's get to the actual meat of the video. So I'm going to be doing, sorry, I said Militia before. I already did the Militia. The one I have to do still, my other team that I'm assigned, is the Firebirds. So I'm going to open up this. I usually just go to the last page here and open it up. And then I'm also going to jump back to the main site, and I'm going to go and find the Firebirds page. And we will load up their roster page and their updates page. And I can get rid of this one. So this is the page where I'm going to be posting the updates to the simmer. So the simmer needs a copy of all the changes. And then obviously you have to update each of the player pages with the changes from the players as well. One thing to note here is the way that this is laid out. This is really important. The simmer, I'm just going to make a quick note on this. If I jump back to the player updater forum, and if you look at tweaked updating format here, you'll notice first off that all the players in the actual sim engine, this is the Simon T hockey simulator we use, they're alphabetical. So when we post updates, all the players that you list the changes to should be alphabetical by first name, by the way. The other thing is, if you've ever wondered why the stats are listed on the player page in this order, right? Checking, fighting, discipline, strength, blah, blah, blah. It's because it's an exact match of what's in here. So this is not really the best example. This is a great example. So you'll notice that most of these have all of the stats except for this one and this one. So if there's only one stat to change on the player, they only want just the one stat. They don't need to retype all of the stats if it's just one stat. But as soon as there's more than one stat, they have to start hunting and pecking around. They would prefer to just get the list of stats in order so they could just literally click on the first one, punch in the number, tab, punch in the next number, and just tab through, punching the numbers in. And as long as you've done this correctly and this is really easy. I'll show you a really quick way of formatting this while you're doing the updates so that it makes it super easy when you're done. So anyway, that's just one quick note I wanted to mention beforehand, just because this is very important to the updaters that this is laid out correctly, because it saves them a whole lot of time and it saves them from having to go to the player page to verify things and stuff like that, which they have had to do it at times. Anyways, let's get back to, whoops, I want to be in player updater, update. SMJHL and the Firebirds, and let's go to the bottom. All right, so let's start with the updates page. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to open up a notepad. Actually, I'm going to open up two notepads. There's a reason for this. So the first notepad I'm going to drag to the side, and I'm going to resize this to roughly a third to a quarter of the size. It doesn't need to be that big because essentially you're going to be creating, basically this is going to be what you have here, right? Anyways, so now the reason I have this other one, this is just a quick trick that I use. You don't have to use this, but I go and I put my my update post format in here. Dump that in here. Put a little cheers on there. So what I can do is if I have this selected in this little tiny notepad, whenever I'm finished somebody's updates, I just open this up, copy, go over, hit quick reply, paste it in, done. You'll see it in a second, but I'm just setting that up. This is really the main thrust of my setup. I will sometimes have calculator running, or oftentimes I'll open and close calculator during the update process a lot. Depends on the updates. As you'll see as we go through, some updates don't really need the calculator. Other ones, it's better to just double check some of the numbers at times. This particular guy here actually, so this is the first thing. You want to look for the last updater and see if they, if they updated everything. This one here, you'll notice did not get updated. Well, that's because this guy didn't do nothing. Anyway, so Artemis is actually the first one to update, and you'll notice whenever you see like 3 pages, oftentimes there's not going to be any player changes to make. So let's open up this one. And one other trick is I don't open these up directly. I open up the last page, and I open up in a new tab. There's a reason for this, and I'll cover that in just a minute when I'm finished going through these. It'll make a lot of sense. So just go down and find the last update, and the standard operating procedure, obviously the first thing is confirm the points that are earned. Now he says 179 here, so just make sure he didn't do that. Nope, he didn't do that previously. Good. So now if you just left click on these always open in a new tab, so that saves you a bunch of work. So he's got, doesn't really matter what they put in here, as long as they post in the actual 179 thread and the 180 thread. So again, make sure that it's links to their post. Fishcock, sure, perfect. And 180, okay, we're good. And I assume this is the last 2 weeks of training. So this one is 1 mil training 14 minutes ago. And let's see the other one. That was October 8th. So this was last week, and so what it looks like is he did the actual activity check and he did the training last week. He just didn't put them in his update. And just double check. Training camp, individual training camp, October 1. Yep. So he just banked, some people just will do their update stuff and not put that into their update thread for a while and bank them up. Just double check and make sure they're not banking them up. Or doubling up on what they've done. So these world-class trainings are worth 5 each, and these are worth 2 each, so that's 14. That's pretty straightforward. And because he's already at the cap, in this case, because in the juniors there's a 350 cap, They can't apply any points to their player past that, so they're just banking. So it's literally plus 14 bank, plus 14 to the total. Super easy. I always just double check that they've got the base TPE correct though. So let's find Artemis. It's right here. 463 plus 14, 477. Yay, he's good at math. Go down, open this up so we can edit it. We're going to go to edit and full edit so that we can edit the total TPE. And I'll just copy this, double click, paste this, and I'll just go minus 350 because it's always going to be, when they're in juniors, their total TPE minus 350 is the amount of banked they have. So then I'll just double click that, paste that in. Now, one note here is you'll see this sometimes. What this means is of the 127, 21 of it is assigned to these specific stats. So he's got 3 of this 127 has to go to puck handling, and 18 of the 127 has to go to endurance. So this is commonly when you have somebody that you're updating who's, commonly this only happens when they're a junior player, but before they're called up to the SHL, anything that's banked that is specifically assigned to points has to be noted that these certain amount of these points are assigned and to what stats. Usually it's when they purchase equipment. It can be from training camp technically. If they did training camp for like plus 10 skating or plus 5, plus 6, whatever. You get the idea. It's pretty straightforward, and it's as simple as just throw it in brackets after their bank, which is the points available is the amount banked. So when they're called up, they'll just take those out, and as long as you make sure that when this person's called up that they spend at least 3 into puck handling and at least 18 into endurance, then we're good. Or unless they pay to redistribute those points, because they could do that. It's the same as applying them and then removing them. So that's the other thing you'll see sometimes. Anyway, so this is pretty straightforward. There's nothing to put in this notepad in this case, because the notepad is actually where I'm going to be putting the updates that are going to the sim. And because his player is already capped, all of his stats are unchanged. So you don't put anything in the player update thread when somebody's unchanged. So the last step, of course, make sure you've got your changes in correctly, is always go to the bottom and hit close this topic. I've seen people forget that, and the easy way, this is one of the reasons I lay my tabs out this way is if I click on the player page directly in the roster instead of opening in a new tab, when I close the topic, it'll always bring me out back to the main roster page. And you could see right on the main roster page that he's locked. So that's one thing. So last step, and this is, like I said, why I have this little tiny notepad here, is I'm just going to copy this, hit quick reply, paste, add reply. Boom, he's done. Close that. So I've done him, so I'll just go up to the next one, and this is why I don't, if I was to reply to this and if I just clicked on it and then I came back to this page, he'd now be at the top, and so I'd be looking sort of in between my name at the top where I've last posted by and the bottom last posted by. And to me, this just makes more sense. You can really do it either way you want, but this is the way I do it. Kyler Gill, and he's got very straightforward, just activity check. And it was the 180, yeah. Activity check plus 2 to endurance, that's super easy. So this seems fishy. This seems very fishy. Come on, Kyler. Let's open them up. This one, we're actually going to be using the notepad, the big notepad. So the first thing you want to do is copy the name. And it's up to you. You don't have to put the B tags on this. This just bolds it. You'll notice when I do the post, it's bolded. And then go in and edit this and make the change. So he was plus 2. So first is the TPE plus 2. And he did plus 2 endurance, I believe it was. Yep. So plus 2 endurance. Wherever the hell endurance is, there it is a straight plus 2 because it is 54. Now, because he only changed one stat, the updater doesn't need to retype everything, so we're going to just give them the one stat. so that's done. Easy peasy. Some updates are super fast. Bigger ones are more of a pain in the butt. Like I said before, this is why I really hate when people slack in off season. And by the way, if you're a backup, even if the updater doesn't post, you can still claim a team every week during off season. As soon as it's Monday by around noon Monday, I think it's earlier than that actually. There is an update schedule post that explains it, but that's money you could be making instead of just sitting around, and by doing that you're helping out before preseason a hell of a lot, and you're helping out the players because honestly, players when they are left with updates that are half a page long, it becomes confusing for them, and it just causes more problems than it's worth. So anyway, copy our post, reply, add reply, done. All right, so we did Viziok, Gill, Mr. Grossman. Let's find his page and open him up. There's Mr. Grossman. We got Mr. Grossman up here. Mr. Dick Butt, that's good. He's at 208 DPE. What does he got here? He's got +5. I'll just punch that in here for now. That way I could store it on the side. So he actually does have more than one change. So this is going to be good. Let's just grab this player name right now and bring it over here. Now, one thing to note is, again, the players have to be in alphabetical order by first name. So I do that right up front while I'm putting these updates in. Now he's earned 5. Let me just double check. Of course, that was page 180 I saw, and Grossman Jr. and workout, and it's updated. It doesn't have to be updated, by the way. The bankers will note if there's an issue, and then he'll know before the next update. So +5, he did 5, that's fine. I'm just gonna, because I'm working on a single screen, I'm just gonna temporarily paste this over here. You never post this to the update thread for the updater. The updater does not want to see plus this many and this much to this. It's just a huge pain in the butt for the updater. This is temporary. So let's open this up and update this. I'm just going to be lazy and copy the TPE because I already added the 5. Full edit, double click, paste, go down here. Don't need that anymore. So we got endurance +1, 51, that's easy. And defense +4, that's going to be 71. Yay, update scale. If you ever don't realize what the update scale is, you can just open up this player update tool. I recommend you have a bookmark for it. It's got the skater update. If you did the goalie, you just click goalie and it's at the bottom here. And it's really useful when there's a confusing update to just check the points, make sure everything checks out. I do that periodically. Let's copy all the stats in this case, and we don't want the updates, we want the full stats. Now, we don't need that. That was a mistake. Anyway, so we got all the stats, so we're going to go ahead and submit that. And close topic. Oops. And copy. Quick reply. Paste. Boom. Boom. Whenever JSync speeds up. There we go. All right. Almost done. Petty Kane Riley. Let's open him up here, over here as well. 211. Punch that in here. And simple update. It's another just 5. There he is. That's his activity check. It's training. If it ever loads. And I love JSync. Come on, JSync. There you are. 500K, that's good. By the way, if you're curious why it looks like this instead of the original default navigation, Alpha Plus, to me, just looks way prettier. Anyway, we've confirmed these points. He's got 5 extra. He's putting straight 5 to face off. That's going to be very easy. This plus 5. And this one will go at the bottom because P comes after K. Paste that down here. Let's grab his name. All right, let's finish that one out. This is gonna be a super easy update. This is what I mean by, if we make sure that we keep on top of updates every week, generally they're not too hard to work through. So we've opened this, edit, full edit. Let's just be lazy again, copy and paste. And it was a straight 5 to face off. Brings him to 60. Oops, 60. And we just need the one stat because it's a single stat we're updating. But boost. Close. Always close. Quick reply. Grab this, copy and paste. I did Control-C, Control-V in case you're wondering why my mouse is not going over and right-clicking. And that's done. Super easy. All right. Maurice Pritchard. Maurice. There you are, Maurice. There you are. Be lazy again. Okay, so he did training and equipment. So this one's going to be a little bit more fun. All right, so we got his points from his mock draft, which should be here. 4 plus. That was his username. Academy Dropout. Perfect. Jenny, please alphabetize these like everybody else does. Anyway. There he is. Control F is your best friend. Search. Anyway, so he's got the 2 plus the 4, so that's 6. That's correct. And training and equipment. So he's got... Now this is one thing, this is where it gets interesting. When you purchase equipment, one thing you want to make sure is that they're actually applying to the places they're supposed to be applying. If they're trying to take these points and put them somewhere else, they'd have to actually pay to redistribute. Some people will pay when they purchase the equipment a certain amount to redistribute some of those points right out of the gate. So M is going to come in here. So let's just put his name in here. I'm going to punch these in just so I could double check the stats. Let's just put his name on here while we're at it. So yeah, before we even process them, I'm just going to double check and make sure he's got these. So he's got the +4 to scoring. It's here. +4 to puck handling and passing. +4, +4. Good, good. +4 to skating. He's got that. And +2 to checking and +2 to strength. It seems like all he did was apply his equipment. That's interesting. Very strange. I don't know why he copied and pasted that in. I guess it, could be helpful. Maybe it's to help himself. That's fine. But let's just double, I'm pretty sure he did the activity check. Let's just double check that. There he is. All right. So he's got his equipment and he's got his training. So these do add up, in case you're curious, these do add up to 20 points when you buy the maximum junior equipment. 4, 4, 4, 4, that's 16, and another 4 is 20. And then the 3 is for the individual training for junior, the max training for junior. So so we do have 23 and 25 and 6 is 31. Yep, that's right. So let's just do 13. He's got good math. But he didn't spend some of his points. He really only spent 20 of his points here. So he's going to have some in the bank. This is going to be a more interesting one. So he's at 213, and yeah, so he's got 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 2 plus 2. He spent exactly 20 out of the 31, so he's got 11 points banked at this point, unless he had some in the bank before. He did not. Okay, so we're going to actually have to bank some of his points because he didn't spend them. I mean, that's all right. So what I'll usually do is I'll start this quick reply now. I'm not going to save it yet until I finish processing the update, but it doesn't have to be super elaborate. But just a quick note, I see, this is what happened. So just making sure that there's some note, because there's no note in his that if he had said in here he's banking 11 points for whatever reason, which in the junior, I don't know why you would ever do that, but uh, you wouldn't have to make a note of it. You just say updated. But in this case, when there's a discrepancy between the points, I always make a quick note of it. It helps the next updater if they got to go back and check what happened. And it helps the player when they go to do their next update. So, I mean, all of his points check out. He's obviously underspent. So let's just paste this over here and copy this. I guess copy it from here to 213. Let's go ahead and update this. APE. All right, let's just run down the list here. So we got scoring +4. Scoring is a weakness, so that's actually 42 then. Yeah. Puck handling, 462. Passing. Oh no, I see. He spent. Oh, I see here. He spent his extra 11 here. I just didn't notice because he had written it this way instead of the total. All right, well, scratch that. It's just a strange way of putting it in. Yeah. All right. So it's actually passing +10, which is 60. That's fine. All right. Skating +5, 60. Checking +2 is in fact 42. And strength +6 is 56. And we'll copy all of the stats. Now, I've done this to all the players whenever I update, is I always set their strengths to green and their weaknesses to red. This isn't a requirement. I always do it on player pages when I update them if they don't have it done. And the reason I do that is because when I'm doing the updates, when I'm going, oh, scoring, I'm going to bump this up to whatever, I can see right here that it says red. I don't even have to look at scoring. So it's just helps visual reference. It also helps on the player page for the player. So if the player looks at his page, like at a quick glance, oh yeah, the red one is my weakness, and the ones that are green, I could bring above 90 because they're my strengths, right? Anyway, always close. And I have to click go. It should always take you back to the roster page. Boom. And he did actually get his points distributed correctly because I missed those extra 11 because of the +2, +4, +1 stuff. But that's all right. That's all right. If he's comfortable doing it that way, I can pay more attention next time. Updated. We're almost done. Close this off. Zemegus. Zemegus, where are you? There you are. Mr. Spider Geek, welcome back. You're doing updates again. Very good. Activity check and weekly training. Mr. Zemegus for the Blizzard and the Firebirds in 180. Weekly training. It's a Blizzard transaction. Now, this is one interesting thing. You'll notice that the vast majority of people will do 1 mil for training once they're in the majors because you can do 1 mil training. You can still do 500K. If you can afford it, it's better to do 1 mil, obviously, because it's 5 instead of 3 points. I guess economics-wise, you are saving money by doing the 500K. Anyway, so 5 + 5 is easy, and +5 defense is super easy. And Zemeckis is obviously going to be at the bottom. And I'm not even going to try to, I could type some of the names, but I'm just going to copy and paste. And that's a super easy one. Plus 5 is very easy to do in your head. I'm not even going to bother with the calculator, obviously. It helps when there's a big update and a whole bunch of points to use a calculator just for accuracy's sake. Defense plus 5, so this is going to be super fun. So it's not 1/2, it's 2 out of 4. This is one thing you'll see some players sometimes do or they'll do a fraction, like they'll say 79.5. It becomes a real nightmare to try to do decimals when you're at like plus 90, because it's 12 points. So try to figure out your decimal point for out of 12. Technically speaking, in the sim, it only takes whole numbers. There's no such thing as half a stat in the sim engine itself. So really what we're saying is you've applied 2 out of the 4 you need for your next stat in this case. So 2 of the 5 will bring him to the 80. And the extra 5 will in fact be 3 out of 8, actually. And I do ampersand. So he only updated one stat. Now this is one thing to note is, like I mentioned, the sim does not use fractions. Now it's not going to kill the simmer if you've got a bunch of fractions in it, but it is a pain in the butt because it's extra numbers in their face. So there's no reason to put the half or quarter or whatever stats. Oh, it is actually out of 4 for the 80. Ha ha ha. I'm thinking of the wrong. Oh no, 80 is 8. It's 12 for the next one. It's 4 for 70s. That's right. So yeah, so it is actually 3 out of 8. So anyway, he'll have to figure that out next update. Submit. Close. We got our update copied over here already, and we can boom. Updated. Last one. Peanut butter. Where's that peanut butter? There it is. Again, name with special characters in it. There's no way I'm going to try and type that. And B, obviously, comes right to the very top, the tippy top. If I can type. All right, got the name in there. Let's take a look at the updates. Again, a simple one. Activity check. That was 180 I saw there for the flash. 1 mil and training. Oh, super fun times. They went and purchased the SHL equipment because they are drafted to the SHL even though they're still playing juniors. 8.5 mil for equipment, which is the max equipment for majors. Now, one thing is with equipment is I always like to make sure that they, unless they paid for redistribution, you do have to make sure that they are actually applying them where they're required, because there is cost involved to change where these go. Got to keep people honest, because I have seen people change. Now this is interesting. 2.8. So he's actually, the way redistribution works if you're new to redistribution is it's that for every 100K or 0.1 million is 1 point redistributed, 1 TPE redistributed. So he's redistributing 28 TPE. Now, if you add up, I believe that's actually redistributing all of these, which I'm not sure why you would do, but anyway. So it's, let me clear this. So we've got 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 for the puck handling, skating, and face-offs, plus 2 for skating endurance, plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 for that. So that's 28. So he actually went ahead and purchased all the equipment and said redistribute all the points, which I guess he could be putting all of those into one place. We'll see in just a second. So we actually don't have to worry about where these are going, at least. So that makes that very easy. So we do have 28 plus the 1 million training, which is another 5. Let's use the calculator just because it's getting to be a higher amount of points. So 28 plus 5 is in fact 33 plus the 2. So he got 35 points, which is correct. He's hit his cap, so we can only apply up till 350. This is a really good place to load up the player builder. And I'll just drag this over here as well. Punch in 350 and make sure when we're done their update, we're going to double check and make sure they haven't brought themselves over the cap. So I think what he's done is with the redistribution is he doesn't want to, if you remember before we had somebody that had banked points with assigned next to it, he's not going to have assigned next to it because he's already said, I don't want to have those assigned, I want those unassigned. That's what the redistribution was. Even though it's not explicitly stated here, that's the intent here, obviously. So we got 35 plus 336, so 371. And these are the changes we're making, so let's just do that real quick. So we're going to go over here, open this up, edit, full edit, paste that in here, and I just do minus 350, whoops, minus 350, there we go, copy, and then just 0 is now this, okay? So, and that will always be the case when they're in the juniors. It's their TPE total minus 350. That's the points available. That's always the case. So even if somebody manually is writing how much plus to their bank, doesn't matter. This is how much is in the bank. Even if they have a certain amount assigned, that doesn't come out of the total in the bank. There have been some players that have tried to argue with this, but this is the standard format we've always used, and we can't have people deviating from that because it becomes confusing when the next updater comes along. Anyway, let's apply these points and check the points, make sure that it all adds up. So we've got plus 14 to endurance, so it's plus 7. That's 69, and oh, the rest is plus 21 banked. All right. So that's easy. So it's only one stat change. So let's just copy that over right now. We don't need any of that. So that's his entire, this is the entire update thread we could put to the Prince George update. But I want to double check this first. So let's just quickly run through there. Let's find the, checking is the weakness. Good. We're on the skater. Got 350. And let's just run through, and this is the same way that the Simmer updates threads, which is again why we have this format. So we got 41, fighting is 25, discipline 62, skating 65, strength 42. Wow, 69 endurance, durability we skip, puck handling is 73, face-offs is 60, passing is 44, scoring is 85 and 80. With 2 points left over, and those 2 points are these two right here, 2 out of 4 on the puck handling, and that will never go up until they're called up. Not something I usually recommend to people in their juniors. Some people have the impression, I think, that partial, like half stats, actually go into their sim character, but it doesn't. So, I mean, I will mention that to people. It's up to you, of course. You don't have to mention it technically. Anyway, so the points check out in the builder, which is great. So let's go ahead and save this. And close it off, obviously. Don't need that one open. Quick reply, and I'm just going to say a quick $350 cap. Just because, you met your cap. You're now the top junior player possible. Great. Boom. All right. So last steps cleaning up. This is why I right-click and open these in a new tab each time. When I'm finished going through all of them, I will refresh the page, and I'll just double-check that they all say last update by Quantum Cowboy, last post by Quantum Cowboy. That's me, obviously. Or it would be your name, obviously. But if somebody, technically, if somebody had put their update in while you were in the process of processing the updates, it's easy to miss if you're constantly reloading this page. That's why I generally leave them and then what happens is when I refresh, all it does is it just updates all these right over here to last update by me. So I know this team is done. We're good. We can close this off. Just double check that all these are locked, which they should be, because if you just click close, it should lock it and take you back out. That's done. Last thing is just copy and paste all this. Quick reply, paste it in here. This is the update thread for the Firebirds. And I just do a quick glance and make sure I got no fractions on here, because you can edit it, in case you missed one, just because it's a pain for the updaters, but it's not the end of the world if you miss it. So that's done. Now, if you're a backup, the last step for you would, it's a good idea. You don't have to, but it's a good idea to go back to the discussion thread and post, so-and-so is finished updating, or edit your thread on it, as Stuff would say. Or done. You don't have to post a new. You can just edit your post and say it's done now, or whatever you want to do. Anyways, I hope that helps you if you're new to updating, going through the process of checking the stats, making sure all the numbers add up, make sure the TPE is correct, making sure the stats have been applied correctly, and how to format your post, and just a good workflow for running through things. If you have any questions, obviously you can always message the head updater. You're welcome to message me if you got any questions. I'm also on Discord, so yeah. I hope that that has been helpful, and I will catch you guys on the flip side.